Hello, bonjour, it's Maz here from ODIY, your one-stop shop for all things Odoo. Today we're diving into Odoo's Australian functionalities. We're asked all the time whether Odoo can cater for Australian companies and if it can do everything Xero or MyOb or NetSuite can do. Let's just take a look, shall we? So the types of features we're going to cover is the Australian configuration package, which you can load, which provides the configuration for Australian settings. That will obviously include the Australian GST codes and the BAS reports for Australia. There's also bank feeds with all of the major and even non-major Aussie banks. There's Australian payroll. We also have time zone and language settings that we need for websites and online appointments and calendar settings and things like that. ABA files, so if you pay in a batch process your suppliers, you need an ABA file to be able to really quickly upload into your bank and make that process quick. We've got that. Buy now, pay later payment providers, we have that. So you can offer Afterpay and Zip Pay and everything like that. We have Stripe to take online payments with. In terms of shipping, Odoo are currently working on Starship It. We do have the major DHL, FedEx and all of those, but very soon we'll be able to really easily integrate with the likes of Australia Post. Then we have PayPal e-invoicing as well. So Australia's a little bit late to the party with that, but Odoo are in front in terms of that kind of thing. So we have that too. So let's have a look. So first up, let's just take a look at the general Australian configuration. So Odoo as standard has what they call localization packages for probably hundreds of countries now around the world, and one of them is of course Australia. And so how this is done is when you initially provision a database, you can load in, or your partner, if you're working with a partner, will load in the Australian localizations. So I'll show you how that works. So basically in the apps tile here in your main dashboard, we can search for Australia. So if I that in, let's take out that apps. So here are all the Australia specific functionalities that you can load in optionally as part of your Odoo database. So you can see if you're doing accounting using Odoo, there's Australia settings for that. Payroll is, I'll talk about it later, and reports, of course. So there's some specific, pretty much to do with taxes. So once that is installed, what happens is, if I go back in here, in our general database settings for our company, you have, if we go to accounting here, fiscal localization. So here, if I didn't have anything in here, it would be blank in an initial deployment. I could select Australia and it would install everything. And then what that basically does is it installs all the default settings for GST that are Australian specific. It changes the headings of the taxes. So in previous versions, it always used to say tax everywhere. And now if it knows that you're Australian, you're in Australia, actually renames it to GST, which is just a little bit more user-friendly. So it's placed it all in there. The other thing that it does is it has the concept of cash basis or accrual accounting. So depending on how you pay your taxes, how you've configured your business, it has that setting. Of course, currency, AUD, which would be your main currency in Australia. We can still invoice in other currencies if we want to, but our main currency is Australian dollars, of course. The other thing that it has as well is it will load in a default chart of accounts, which is pretty common and consistent across most Australian-based systems. This can be changed if you really must, but It's pretty good. And in loading it, it's also populated defaults into the accounting settings, which is super handy. Fiscal periods. So, of course, in Australia, we have a specific tax year, which is different to the UK and it's different to the US. In the US, generally it's Jan to December, and in the UK, it's a funny date in April to a funny date in April. But here in Australia, it's 30 June. So you can set your year-end fiscal periods there. And of course, you get Australian tax reports as well. So in loading that localization package, if we go to accounting and reporting, we have the BAS report, which is automatically in the ATO reporting codes. It just makes it really easy to fill out your online ATO BAS form because it's already got it in all the sections that you need to know about, and we can do it by month or by quarter. So last quarter, this quarter, and it will automatically total up everything in the system for you. So that's pretty cool. Of course, you could do your closing entry journals automatically based on these totals as well. The other thing that's Australia specific is the TPAR report. So the taxable payments annual report is specific to us in Australia. It is related to vendors and whether they're registered for GST, whether they have ABNs, whether we need to withhold tax, whether it's an overseas company we're dealing with. And we've got the report, but also what it does is if I go to a contact who happens to be a supplier as well, and if I go to the sales and purchase tab within that contact record, there's a field here for fiscal position. This is specifically for TPAR. So if you drop that down, you have options here. So overseas partner is Odoo language for customer or vendor, whether they are TPAR, so they are registered, or they're TPAR without ABN. So you can set these on your suppliers, and then the system just captures the information and will display it on the TPAR when it comes to reporting time. So that's pretty cool. Now, the other thing that Odoo has for Australian businesses as part of the package is the ability to generate an ABA file for your banking. So if you pay your vendors in a batch process, you can create and load directly to your bank account an ABA file, which will obviously save you heaps of time with your vendor processing. The other thing, of course, is in your user profile. If we go to my profile here, we've got a couple of settings here that are sort of pertinent to where you are and where you live. One is the language. So when you provision a Odoo database now in this version, in Odoo 17 onwards, in Australia, it will automatically apply the English AU language. There is a difference, trust me. We can load other languages, that's no problem, but English AU is there. The other thing is time zone. Obviously, you can have any time zone, but this is especially important for the calendar, online appointment functionalities, the website settings, and things like that. So, what about retail and e-commerce businesses? Well, the availability of Asia Pay, and don't let the name confuse you, I'm pretty sure it's an Aussie company, and it provides payment services to APAC, basically this region. So as a payment provider that's now available out the box with Odoo, it will enable you to offer, Afterpay, ZipPay, Hum, and all those buy now, pay later type offers. So you can do that with that. And there is, of course, PayPal out the box and Stripe and everything else. So you can take payments any which way but Sunday. Odoo has also been working super hard to cater for Australian payroll natively. Now, until Odoo 17, that was provided with an integration with KeyPay, who is now part of Employment Hero. This is still available out of the box in terms of configuration and setup, but it obviously requires you to have an account with KeyPay or Employment Hero, and then you can set up the integration. The integration really with KeyPay is it basically imports a journal for the payroll. So there's not really any smart integration there, whereas being able to run payroll, Australian payroll in the Odoo system is a game changer, because obviously it's going to be integrated with your attendance app in Odoo, time off, timesheets, and all those other things. So it's great that it's coming in. It's going to be available out of the box. It's going to be part of your subscription. So that's great. So in terms of, say, parity with Xero or MyOb or NetSuite, for example, we now have Australian payroll in just Odoo itself. So it's all nicely integrated, which is awesome. The other thing that's coming very soon is the Starship It integration, which will enable us to integrate with major shipping providers out of the box in Australia, and that's including Australia Post, which is awesome. So that's really good. Be a click of a button, set up some settings, and we're all good to go. And then also announced at Odoo Experience in November this year was integration with PayPal e-invoicing. Now, if you don't know what that is, there'll be a link down there, and I suggest you look it up if you're a medium or larger business. If you don't know about it, it's coming. Just make sure you are across it, and Odoo's ready for it. So that's awesome news also. So there you go. Whatever they can do, Odoo can do too. So I hope you enjoyed your super fast Odoo Aussie adventure. If you did, hit the button to subscribe for more. And if you've got a question or a topic you want covered, drop it in the comments below. And until next time, keep your business savvy and your coffee strong, and I'll see you in the next video.